Hi, welcome to my next part of my Ninja Turtles 40th anniversary celebration. And the next one we're going to be talking about is one that you may or may not have known existed. And that being the time the Turtles were with Batman. Now this was an interesting film because it kind of came out of nowhere, but it was a nice surprise. And before you ask, no, this was not something that made up out of nowhere. There was a comic book where the source material came from. Fun fact, there was technically two more, which I actually hope in the future we get as movies as well, because these weren't that bad stories. But enough with that, let's get into the movie. The movie begins in Gotham City, where we see Barbara Gordon at Wayne Enterprises, that all of a sudden gets attacked by foot ninjas. But luckily for Barbara, four colorful people in the shadows come to her rescue, which she tells Batman not too long afterwards. After the opening credits, we see Batman trying to analyze what's happening, while Alfred gives him a coffee mug that I'm surprised didn't get him fired right away. Even the Ninja Turtles are trying to figure out what to do next, mostly from the sewers. And since none of them didn't get enough information, we get a cool montage of all of them suiting up to go back to Wayne Enterprises that night, hopefully to get more answers. But unfortunately, the Penguin shows up ready to rob the place. He ends up getting jumped by people he thinks is Batman, but instead he gets this.
Do I look like a friggin' bat to you?
And it's around here where we get a good look at the Turtles finally, and I'm not gonna lie, I really do like the designs of the Turtles in this movie. I don't know what it is, something about them just seems right. Like, they don't look too cartoony, they don't look too dark and serious. It's like a good in-between. It doesn't take too long for the Turtles to take out Penguin because, well, he's the Penguin. He's not really that threatening a villain, to be honest. Despite this, he ends up getting away not too long afterwards. While the Turtles were fighting Penguin, Batman's actually been inside Wayne Enterprises fighting off a bunch of foot soldiers. He leaves one of them conscious just for questioning. However, he ends up getting silenced. Permanently. Batman does end up spotting the guy who killed him, and it turns out to be the Shredder. Which leads to, honestly, a really damn good fight between the two of them. I mean, the fight between the Turtles and the Penguin was goofy, but still fun. I don't know what it is, like the way these two battle, like Batman using his gadgets and Shredder using his skills, just makes this a really entertaining fight to behold. But unfortunately for Batman, the Shredder uses an ancient ninja technique which takes him out more or less in one blow, and the Shredder is able to make his escape. We see the Turtles stumbling around still looking for clues as they end up coming across the Batmobile and honestly having the most appropriate reaction to seeing it.
It's beautiful. What you think something like that costs?
My soul, probably, since I'd pay that.
But unfortunately, they don't have much time to look at the car because Batman ends up showing up to kick their asses. And it's around here I'd like to point something out. I'm not really a fan of the Batsuit they gave Batman in this movie. I don't know what it is. I feel like because of the tone, I feel like they should have picked a different one because this one feels a little too colorful for this movie. In all honesty, I feel like they should have just given him the costume he had in the original comic book this movie was based off of. The fight, unfortunately, isn't in the Turtles' favor, mostly because they don't know what they're in for. The Turtles end up retreating, and Batman ends up taking one of Raphael's sides in the end. We then cut to an abandoned warehouse, because of course a movie like this would have one, and we see that Baxter Stockman is working for the Shredder, and yeah, we finally get a movie where Baxter Stockman's a mutant fly. Yeah, in the live-action movies, we didn't get anything like this. In the old crossover movie with the Turtles Forever, we didn't see Baxter at all, so it's kind of cool that we finally get to see this in one of these films. We also see in this abandoned warehouse that Shredder has been working for Ra's al Ghul. And the reason for these two working together is honestly quite simple. Ra's al Ghul wants mutagens just so he can mutate Gotham City into destroying itself just so he can take over, and Shredder wants the Lazarus Pit so he can live forever. But unbeknownst to them, Robin was listening in on the whole conversation. We then cut back to the Turtles at I guess an internet cafe, trying to get information on what Batman is, and frankly, Raphael's description of what he is honestly really funny to me.
So he wears a Dracula costume and punches clowns. Who cares?
And we also see that Batman is trying to figure out who they are. And from the DNA sampling of Raphael's side, he quickly discovered that they're mutants and not weirdos in costumes. It is also around this time that the Turtles actually find the Batcave quite easily. And of course, see Mikey goofing off wearing one of Batman's cape and cowls while riding his dinosaur. And in doing so, Robin comes in mostly out of rage for disrespecting his father. Batman and Batgirl do show up just to settle things down, and they are able to talk to each other and learn that they're not really enemies, more like people with common villains. While this is happening, we cut to Arkham Asylum where we see Ra's al Ghul and the Shredder murdering people just so they can get to the Joker. Apparently they want his laughing gas formula, which he does provide, in exchange for his own canister of mutagen to do God knows what with. Batman and the Turtles do get wind of this from Commissioner Gordon, and after learning what's happened, they rush over to Arkham Asylum to investigate. But before they get there, Joker puts the mutagen in the water sprinkler just so he gets around the other Batman villains and the mutants. And I'm not gonna lie, the whole part with them going to Arkham fighting the other Batman villains as mutants is cool, but it feels like padding because I feel like you can cut out most of this entire sequence and miss nothing. Also, the one mutation that makes no sense to me is Mr. Freeze. Because if you know this character, you know he can't survive outside sub-zero temperatures. So wouldn't mutating into an animal with a bunch of fur to keep him warm technically kill him? I don't know, this is the one mutation, like I said, that makes no sense at all to me. The Joker does end up mixing his laughing gas formula into the mutagen, which he then proceeds to put into Batman, turning him into a bat monster, which is kind of redundant, seeing how there's already a Batman villain called Man-Bat. And we do see that retro mutagen they were working on earlier does thankfully work. Unfortunately, when this was happening, the Penguin was able to provide a device for the Shredder and Ra's al Ghul, which is mostly designed to spread the mutagen throughout Gotham City in the air. But thankfully, the Turtles and the Bat family were able to figure out what they were doing on the Bat computer, as well as figuring out their location. Which does lead to a really fun car chase with the Turtles and the Bat family trying to storm their base in the Batmobile and the Party Wagon. And we even get to see Batman let Mikey mash every button in the Batmobile. They do eventually make it to the blockade, leading to a really fun climax. And I am serious about this being fun. Like, we do get a rematch of Batman fighting the Shredder, and we get to see the Turtles fight Ra's al Ghul. And I swear, the way Leonardo defeats Ra's al Ghul is a Kill Bill reference. And during Batman's rematch with Shredder, Batman ends up saying what I think might be the best line in the movie.
Cowabunga. What? Cowabunga?
And we get to see Mikey and Donatello disable the device that was going to destroy Gotham City. That also happens to crash down, defeating the Shredder in the movie. And with that, the movie ends with the Turtles about to head back to New York City. Except Batman won't let him leave for one reason.
It's pizza time.
Yeah, Batman decides to buy them all pizza one last time before they head out. We also do get an end credit scene with the Shredder turning into a Joker. Not gonna lie, this ending is kinda pointless. And that concludes my video on Batman vs. Ninja Turtles. And I'm gonna be honest, I like this movie way more than the last one. I don't know why I didn't like Out of the Shadows too much. I think it was because they wasted so much time reintroducing everything for new fans, even though all the old fans watching already know this stuff. With this movie, they don't do that. Like, it's a crossover movie, so the idea of it is that you should know who these two characters are in order to fully enjoy it, and the movie does just that. It doesn't really introduce anything new, for the most part. And I feel like that's the reason why I enjoyed it more. I didn't waste time re-establishing stuff. Everything was just there, it was just put together differently. Okay. Now on to the next movie, which I don't physically own a copy of. So, you're going to bear with me with this. Plus, it was a Netflix movie that I'm honestly surprised even got finished in the first place.